I'm an artist. I am a political artist. And what you just saw is exactly the challenge we have with political art. How can we be part of political life? How can we create political situation through art? This is why I created this concept of political timing specific. Basically, it is about trying to understand art as a way to generate political consequences. It is a way to intervene in moments of politics when things are not defined, where people are scared, and where people don't know what's going on. Art can be very helpful at that moment. For this, we have another challenge, which is we cannot see art as an investment in order to do this, nor as a product. We actually have to see art as a social implementation process. So I'm going to tell you more or less how I do this. In 1998, I embody an African icon that deals with unfulfilled promises. I walked the streets of Havana. It was the day of Fidel Castro's birthday. And people started approaching. All of a sudden, a policeman came and said, "What's going on?" One of those kids said, "This is art." The policeman stared for a while. I think he didn't know what to say, and then, "Okay, continue." Then I realized that I was doing something wrong. If I wanted my art to provoke a reaction to the people in power, I had to eliminate, let's say, the symbolic aspect of art. Why? Because symbolism is something everybody puts their own idea of what it is, their own interpretation. So I say, okay, I'm going to start appropriating the tools used by power. What I did was I created an alternative art school that basically was generating political and social art. I also took some of activist tools, which mean, for example, in this case, I did a signature campaign to ask Pope Francis I to give Vatican citizenship to all migrants in the world without papers. I also have the chance to tell the police what to do. So I actually asked the Mounted Police in London to enter a museum and use all the techniques that they know about crowd control with the audience of that place. Of course, this was unexpectedly, so people reacted very accordingly to fear. But then on December 17, 2014, Barack Obama and Raul Castro announced that they were going to start moving toward the normalization of relationship between Cuba and the US. This was with no explanation. It was just an announcement. As you can imagine, the same way when the Berlin Wall fell, people were in awe. They didn't know what was going on. People were extremely confused. And then I say, okay, this is exactly the perfect moment to do a political timing, a specific piece. So what I have done is I propose to put a microphone in the Revolution Square for anybody who wanted to come and express their view of the future of our country. Of course, as an artist, you cannot compare with what happened when the government tell people to go to that same place, you know. You are working at a smaller scale, of course. But for us in art, the numbers are not important. What is important is what impact you made in people. Then what happened with this piece? Well, of course, the government immediately reacted the way they always do, with violence and repression. I was brought into detention with other 87 people, some of whom didn't know anything about this project, but the government thought that maybe, perhaps, they wanted to participate, so preemptively they were detained. So basically, yes, we have a government there that is afraid of art, which is fantastic for my projects. After a few interrogation sessions, I realized that there were some areas of, let's say, ignorance or lack of knowledge by the person who was interrogating me about art. And I say, this is the perfect opportunity to open the door for change. Then I decide to do art for the not yet. What I mean by this is art that want to transform the answer from a government or from the people in power from violence to creative responses. What I mean is, how can we live in a future today? Not as an escapism, but as a way to make today accountable. So basically I say, okay, what can I do for my next interrogation session? I say, I'm going to read The Origins of Totalitarianism by Hannah Arendt, with the hope that my interrogator read at least one paragraph, and then I can talk to her about that. And what happened? I could not get out of the house, so I decided to put a speaker at the door. Why? Because sound could be free when I was not. Then what happened? The government sent a high jammer brigade to the front of my house to eliminate the project. Of course, I was not going to fight it. And on the other hand, I was extremely happy because I made the government do art for me. This is the artwork by the Cuban government. So yes, there is a way in which we can fight those in power differently. But of course, we feel very good because it's all about Cuba, right? This is socialist people, right? Like, we know they're bad. Well, you guys are always bad too, are also bad too. So we have some projects for other places. So let me give you an example. I was invited last year to do a project at Turbine Hall at the Tate Modern. It's a big commission. And for me, the most important part was to ask the institutions today, what are they doing for the people? Because the way in which you are opening the door for totalitarianism is when you don't make your institutions accountable. So I asked the art institution that was extremely powerful internationally, what are you doing for your neighbors? For this, I created a group called the Tate Neighbors. And for me, it's very important that when I do this kind of social art, I don't work with a preconceived, let's say, community, but I create a new community that would not exist unless the work had happened. And here you see the diversity, not only in age, religion, etc., but we have also people who have never entered the Tate, and they live 10 meters around the Tate. Other people had longer relationships, so it was very varied. And we made many, many, many meetings for over 5-6 months. And then we decided that the way these people who live around this such important institution will feel represented would be if we react to one thing that happened in that building, which is a few years ago, in order to finish it, they sold the name of part of the building to a billionaire. So we decided that our answer to that was to change the other part of the building. There are 2 buildings in the Tate. And we named this building Nathalie Bell. So who is Nathalie Bell? Nathalie Bell is a social worker that has been for more than 25 years assisting youth at risk in that same neighborhood. This is the kind of people we forget. This is the kind of people who are really doing change, but never be on a news or on the newspaper or the TV. These are the kind of people we have to protect. So we decided that the only way the neighbors will be represented if we put the name of this person. Of course, we were very happy. We never thought that was really going to happen when we proposed it. And moreover, I have to say that the Tate the director came at some point and said, I have a problem. I say, what's going on? It's like, people who work at the Tate like it so much. We cannot change it. Why? Because this is art that is representing not my personal, what I like or not like. It's art that is for the people, made by the people. And basically, she called me a few days ago to say that this has been made permanent. So what is this? We are rethinking with this work, what does it mean to feel together? What does it mean in moments where all the world is moving towards our differences? We cannot talk to this person, we cannot relate to that other person. How can we create through art a space that is safe enough to generate a group that will never exist, a reality that was impossible, no matter our differences? But more than anything, this work is about questioning what are the social values we are implementing today in our everyday life. What are the social values our institutions are defending today? You know, why are we staying quiet? Why are we not rethinking how we operate today in society? So basically, for me, art for the not yet is a way to transform affect into political effectiveness. It is also very often, when I do these talks, I'm very excited about doing this talk, like, you know, telling people art can change the world. Many people, probably most of you, will say, no, it's not possible. Okay, I will give you a little bit of that. I will say art might not always change the world, but I will say that art can actually change our political behavior. And this, for me, is the first step. Thank you so much.